Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the King Power Stadium, where Norwich City have recorded their first win since 2011 this afternoon by beating the Foxes by 2-0 here. A victory that puts them quite a few points clear of Leicester, 11 in fact, and means that their progress under Philippe Clement continues. A really positive away day for the Canaries, who have backed up what they did in midweek and taken another step, and probably a gigantic step, towards championship safety. Now on 45 points, as I said, 11 ahead of Leicester, and just 5 points off what feels like that sort of glorious 50-point mark that you need to do it. But I think we can all now view that bottom three picture in the rear view mirror, because this is a Norwich City team that, in terms of performances, in terms of results, is nowhere near towards the end of the wrong end of the championship table. It's quite remarkable what Philippe Clement has managed to muster during his time in charge. You have to remember the context. He took over a team with 9 points in November that was desperate to win games, and desperately needed to win games to claw themselves out of that situation in front of an away end over there of about 2,600 or so Norwich fans. They were absolutely bouncing at the end, and rightly so, because it was a really commanding, controlled performance from the Canaries, who have come away from home. It's never easy to do. It should, by all accounts, in many ways, because it's a pitch and some grass, it should always kind of feel the same, irrespective of kind of where you play. But we know that's not always the case. This was as dominant, I think, as Norwich have been on the road this season in terms of their control, the territory that they played with, and they deserved to win this game based on what they did mostly in the second half, where they just found an extra gear. And that was going to be the challenge today, with all of the injuries, 16 players out. They've come here today with one fit striker in their side, who they're having to wrap in cotton wool. They're having to rest, and they're having to really push. He's someone that hasn't played a huge amount of games. So in all of that, one left back, a defensive midfielder at right wing, we can continue to produce that level of performance. I think is really, really top end quality and control. It's a performance that we associate with teams towards the top end of the league, rather than perhaps where Norwich City find themselves. Let's start then. It kind of felt more of what we'd associate with a typical kind of Norwich team, that back five that's done so well in recent months. Kovacevic in goal, Fisher, McConville, Cordoba, both of them I thought were immense again today, and Ben Presene. Midfield two of Kenny McLean and Sam Field. Liam Gibbs on the right, Ali Ahmed on the left, and Paris Magoma behind Matthias Christgården. And in the first half, I thought Norwich did really well, actually, in terms of controlling it and territory and possession, limiting Leicester to little, really. I mean, there was the only real save that Vladan Kovacevic had to make was a shot from Harry Winks from range that kind of curled out to win, and it actually had to readjust his body. He's seen it late, it dips, and does really well to get both fists to it and kind of get some of his body behind it just to divert it away. I think it's actually probably, in real time, I thought, goodness me, he's made that look difficult. But actually, when you watch the replay and how the ball moves and dips and how late he sees it, I think it's an excellent save. And Norwich themselves had opportunities. The best one probably for Magoma, where Liam Gibbs, who I'll come on to, steals the ball from Ollie Skip. He takes it on to Magoma. He drives forward. He's got Chris Gorin to the right, Ahmed to the left. There was maybe a moment to play Ahmed in, but he opts to just wait and to run central. Leicester back off and retreat. The space opens up. He hits a shot that is tapped around the corner by Stolarczyk for a corner. Norwich's corners today, not so good. Probably an area of the game that does need improvement, but we don't want to touch too much upon that. And at half-time, probably felt that Norwich controlled it, but without probably creating that chance that allowed them to deliver a real sucker punch here and to go ahead, because you could sense it. And I spoke to my Leicester counterpart before the game and after the game. You could feel it in terms of if there was going to be a goal, if there was going to be some sort of adversity that came Leicester's way, I think inside this place it was going to turn, and that was going to work to Norwich City's favour. And in the second half, the challenge for me was whether Norwich, with their limited bodies, with their limited options, were able to find that breakthrough and were able to replicate that level of performance. Well, I needn't worry, really, because that second half was as full of control and poise and dedication, effort and structure as the first half. And I think when you think about kind of how many bodies are out, frontline options as well, I think 16 is my head count I've got at the moment of senior players out. to come on the road anywhere is difficult. I know Leicester are in the bottom three, and there'll be some league table analysis around that, but you've got to remember they got deducted 6 points prior to that game. If you add that on, the teams are roughly in a similar place in the table. And I think today you were just kind of waiting for that Leicester onslaught. You were waiting for them to find the gear. And it's funny because you look down their squad list, and there's still some players in there that you think are real talents. Ollie Skipp, someone we've seen at Norwich City firsthand. Harry Winks, Mavididi when he came on, Fatawi, who was getting linked with £40 million moves earlier in this season. And that attacking thrust never came. And I think in part that's because of how well Norwich controlled it. And it wasn't just control with the ball, it was out of possession as well. And I think that is a huge point of what Philippe Clement has done. That stability, that structure, the way that they play in and out of possession. They play some really nice football at times, but that is combined with a pragmatism that actually, when they need to go a bit more direct, when they need to play a safer pass, all of that stuff is done, and it leads you to being a team that's quite multifaceted and quite hard to prepare and to play for, because Norwich have multiple ways of hurting teams, but also multiple ways of kind of limiting them. And I think that is a really successful point. They can press, they can sit in a low block, they can play on transition. They're happy to kind of patiently wait with the ball, and those teams are the hardest, I think, to prepare against, because if you're opposition teams, how do you go about stopping this Norwich team? Because if you try one route, they'll hit you with the other. And I think we saw that in the second half. And it was ultimately really a double, well, one change in particular, but a double change that sparked this game into life. Errol Mundle-Smith came on for Matthias Crisco, and Paris Magoma, who I thought was excellent for the first hour. I've said this a few times, but it's just such a joy to watch the way he glides, so silky as a footballer. But also there was a moment in the second half where he kind of held off a man. There was strength there was substance behind it before he had a shot that was saved by Stilarchik. But the way he just knits things together, some of the threaded passes he plays, he's a wonderful technical player. And I think it was Pontus Jansson in the week who described him as one of the best technical players he's worked with. If Norwich City can keep him fit and get him to 100%, what an exciting talent they have on their hands. But for as good as he was for the opening hour, Anis Ben Slimani came on, and I think he's maybe less of the flicks, the tricks, the kind of aesthetic, eye-catching stuff that puts you on the edge of your seat. But I think this year in 2026, I think you're going to struggle to find a more effective player in the final third than Anis Ben Slimani, because at the end of moves and crosses, his box threat is incredible. But his reading of the game, positionally, where to go, where to stand, when to link, when to shoot, is excellent. And that's why his output is kind of, I guess, proliferated in the way that it has, because of his reading of situations, his game intelligence. He's a slightly different player to Paris Makoma, who is brilliant to watch, and Slimani is brilliant to watch also, but for different reasons. And he took his goal so well. It was a really lovely move Norwich play inside. Sam Field, just again, who I thought was excellent today, finds him on the edge of the box, then makes a decoy run, which I think just unsights the goalkeeper and opens up the far corner. And Slimani, it's a lovely, if you watch it back, a lovely sort of moving of his body to shift the defender away, but create a yard of space for himself before finding the bottom corner with absolute aplomb to put Norwich City ahead. It was a really excellent finish to put them ahead, and obviously in front of that away end there, it was raucous as the players ran over there. It was really good all afternoon, but again, I'll come on to that in a little bit as well. And it didn't take too much longer. Again, you're waiting for that response, that counter punch from Leicester. Just didn't come, just did not arrive. And Norwich, and this is through, I think, what Norwich did, their control, their ability to kind of move the ball, but also their block, the way they go and sit in a mid to high block and make life really, really difficult for teams, particularly away from home, is huge. And you think about it today, but also against the other teams, West Brom, Charlton, trying to think about Sheffield Wednesday. Really, the way they've limited chances has been so impressive. Another clean sheet here this afternoon, deservedly so. Back-to-back clean sheets, which is some doing. The second goal came from a quick free kick. Kenny McLean played it out to Kellen Fisher. Really, again, does really well to curve his run and to stay onside. A cross in that Thomas fails to clear, and Mundle-Smith kind of bundles it, or his shot is then pushed into the path of Ahmed, who just pokes the ball into the back of the net. Again, quite a difficult finish, I think, first time, and manages just to kind of steer it into the corner. Had to get there before his man to put it into the back of the net. And I think all of this kind of typifies where this Norwich group is at the moment. When you think about, again, you have to keep going back to the context of where they were. 9 points in November when Clement picked this up, to where they are now on 45 points. It's a miraculous job that he's done. the tune that he continues to get out of the side with so many players missing, so many players absent, the structure, the discipline that they play with, that ability to eke and squeeze percentages out of every player. I'll give you an example. Liam Gibbs today, again, everything that he does in that right wing position, you have to view as him being out of position. He's a holding midfielder, but he ran the amount of kind of turnovers that he won, the tackles that he won, the running that he did. It was a really fantastic performance, not in terms of end product and output, but in terms of work rate. It typifies, I think, of where Clement has pushed this group to, and his ability to extract so much out of every player. Likewise, Sam Fields, who is not flashy. He's not somebody who's going to play passes through the lines in a Paris Macoma sense, but he does the simplistics so well, does the basics really, really well. Adds a lovely balance, a lovely maturity in this Norwich team. And I think you can see it as well. He's just keeps the rhythm and dictates that as well when they play. So all of that stuff is really good as well. So Sam Field and Liam Gibbs, I think, deserve huge credit for the way that they played and performed today. And yeah, it's another win on the road, which is fantastic for Norwich, and more crucially for those fans who, as we've said, have seen difficult moments and frustrating moments as well. But to have that moment at the end with the fist pumps and with the players is just fantastic. And I think it shows when you've got nearly 3,000 fans willing to come. I recognise from a Norwich perspective, this isn't the greatest hop in the world. It's not the greatest trip. But it's still a significant commitment early on in the season. And so when you get a performance like this and you hear the chants and you hear all of those stuff, it's fantastic where this team is. And yeah, what an odd, bizarre season it has been from a Norwich perspective. But this is a really good win, up there for me with one of their best away performances of the season. Ali Ahmed, again, really good as a side note. But again, it's hard to look past Philippe Clement and the job that he has done here to turn this team from one of the worst performing teams in the Championship to one of the best performing teams in a mere matter of months, and to get them to a position where they've taken the most points and I think scored the most goals and conceded the fewest goals in 2026. That is not easy to do, particularly with a team that was in the state that they were in when he inherited them. So yeah, a huge win on the road, and one that firmly puts relegation, thankfully, in the rear view mirror. He was really good post-match. Ali Ahmed, really good post-match as well, and really good today, actually, in that second half. Just beginning to feel in that first half that maybe his Championship performances were dipping, and maybe the relentless nature of it and the robust nature of it was beginning to catch up. But actually, second half, I think he did find that extra gear, and that is what I think personifies this group. They're quite Lambert-esque, I would say, in terms of that mental fortitude, that ability to keep going, which, again, is really not something we associated them earlier on with the season. I'm going to cut because there are some stewards waiting to go home who have worked tirelessly today, I'm sure, in getting this stadium set up. So thank you all very much for watching. I could talk about so many other players who were excellent today. I will end you with this. Those moments at the end, I think it was Errol Mundle-Smith was pushed forward, Liam Gibbs was pushed forward, and Philippe Clement was tricked by Kenny McLean, who thought they were going to go in unison, and then McLean let Clement go by himself to have that moment with the away fans, which was yeah, excellent and lovely to see. And it's been so nice to see that connection building up. There was a Paris Magoma chant today, which was new, which was excellent. Really enjoyed listening to that. I was tapping my toe throughout the first half, so good work on that front. And yeah, what a really good weekend. And obviously now a trip to Ellen Road next weekend in the FA Cup 5th round, which is going to be a fantastic occasion for everyone, a shot to get through to the FA Cup quarter-finals. And it's going to be really exciting to see how this group copes against Premier League opposition. Pinken.com, the place to go. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening. Subscribe if you're new. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.